Are you a breastfeeding mom who was diagnosed with gestational diabetes and is now worried about how it's going to affect your health now, your future pregnancies, and even just your family wellness as a whole? If that's you, then this episode is for you. Today, I'm going to be sharing about my terrifying diagnosis with gestational diabetes and how I turned that into a story of triumph by preventing it from progressing to type 2 diabetes and also avoiding it in my second pregnancy altogether with only 5 simple life changing habits. So, if that's you and you're ready to reclaim your body, your strength, your confidence in a faith driven, holistic way, then this channel is for you, and let's dive right into it. So, I found out I was pregnant with my first baby in 2020 during the pandemic. Now, it was either my second or third appointment that they told me that I had gestational diabetes, and I was horrified. I have always been active. I started dancing at the age of 3. I studied jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, lyrical, you name it. Like, dance was my first passion and my first love. And then when that professional career ended, I got into personal training, I competed, and all of those things. So I have always been active and healthy. But what happened during the pandemic was I stopped working out as much. I was definitely not eating healthy. I was on the couch basically watching murder documentaries for hours on end because I thought it was going to be a temporary, maybe 1 week, 2 week vacation, if you will, because all of the gyms were closed. I was the lead personal trainer at a big box gym here in Southern California. So I was like, I'm just going to take this time, this week, this 2 weeks, and just enjoy. And we all know what happened. That turned into months and months and months of everything being shut down. Hearing that diagnosis literally shook me to my core. I had so many questions, I had so many fears. First of all, how is this going to affect my baby? Is this going to turn into type 2 diabetes? Am I already a bad mom with this diagnosis? I just had so many questions, but I knew I could not let this diagnosis define me or my pregnancy because despite this diagnosis, it was still a very exciting time for my husband and I, for our families. Like, this was literally the first grandbaby on both sides. And so I started doing a lot of research. I started seeking a lot of guidance, not only medically, but also spiritually. I knew there had to be a turning point. I'll admit it was not easy and I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I knew that I had to make changes not only for myself, but also for my baby. Thankfully, at 40 weeks pregnant, I was induced. I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy who was not affected by my diagnosis. But postpartum, I knew it was time to make some changes. And I started with 5 very small, simple tweaks that I created habits from that I'm going to share with you right now. I'm going to go through them a little bit quickly because I want to keep these videos short because I know as a busy mama, you don't have a ton of time to sit here and listen and watch a video. But what I did was I created a whole ebook going more in depth into these 5 life-changing habits. And you can download that. It's in the show notes here. You can download that for free. Just click the link below. But let's get into number one. Number one was prioritizing blood sugar friendly nutrition. So what that looked like for me was I remember literally all I was eating postpartum in the very beginning were like peanut butter pretzels. So for me, that looked like getting everything on the plate, getting protein on the plate, getting fiber, getting some healthy fats, and some carbs on my plate. So what that could look like for you is cutting, white flour out of your diet, sugary snacks, opting for whole grain options, sweet potatoes, fruits that are low in glycemic indexes like berries, and simple snacks, stuff like yogurt. That's what it could look like for you. Number two, staying active daily. And so this was a really big shift for me because for me, being active meant going to the gym 45 minutes plus, doing cardio, doing weights. Like, that was what active was to me. But when I was postpartum, I had to reframe that into active meant movement. So that meant for me going for a walk, putting my baby boy in a stroller, going outside, going for long walks. It was beautiful because it gave me time to focus on myself. He took a nap while we went on walks. I literally walked off probably about 20 pounds just from walking postpartum after my first pregnancy. And I feel like walking is so underrated. There's so many health benefits. But let me just say, just get moving. For you, that can look like having a dance party with your baby, stretching, doing body weight workouts. Like it can look like whatever it needs to for you. Just get moving. Number three was manage stress proactively. So, what this looked like for me was getting up before my baby or when he was taking a nap, spending time with the Lord, getting out my devotional, reading my Bible, getting quiet in my mind, and just sitting with Him, allowing Him to just speak to me in what felt like a very lonely, very challenging time. That did wonders for me. For you, this can look like meditation, this could look like breathing exercises. I also did a lot of diaphragmatic breathing or connective breathing, also strengthening the pelvic floor, strengthening the core after pregnancy. I did that a lot as well. This could also mean that your nighttime routine, that you actually put one in place. And before you come after me for limited sleep, I know, but you can control when the baby is asleep what time you go to bed. So for me, I used to struggle a lot with, oh my gosh, baby sleep. This is my time to do whatever I want, watch my shows, like just be alone. And then I would end up staying up for hours and then just being exhausted the next day. So I want to encourage you to take some time for yourself, but then go to bed and give yourself the rest that you need. Habit number four is going to be stay hydrated. Now, this is so important, especially for my breastfeeding mamas. Like you have got to stay hydrated. If you're not drinking a ton of water now, I would suggest starting at 8 to 10 cups of water per day. And so also, if you don't enjoy drinking a ton of water, then put something else in that place. You can put fruit into your water, you can do sparkling water, you can do coconut water. Just make sure that you're staying hydrated. Bonus tip is adding electrolytes into your water. I love the brand LMNT. Been using it for years. It's totally natural. There's no added sugar or anything like that added into it, but it makes sure that your body can actually retain the water that you're drinking. So for some of us, we're drinking water, but our body is not absorbing any of it. One of the benefits of electrolytes is making sure that your body is actually holding on to the hydration. Lastly, habit number five is staying consistent with your checkups and your doctor visits. Now, I don't know how it is in other countries, but here in the US, it's kind of just like you get cleared at your 6 week appointment, and it's kind of just like, bye, you're cleared to go back to normal activity, and you're kind of just like on your own, and they just kind of expect you to just kind of figure it out. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you keep checking your blood sugar. You also create follow-up appointments with your OB or your general doctor just to make sure after the 6 week point that your body is still doing well. And if you need any additional help, create a team around you to coincide with your doctor. So for you, that can look like a health coach, that can look like getting a chiropractor, a psychologist. Make sure that you have a little team around you to support you. One of the biggest lessons that I learned was learning to put into practice consistency over perfection and just focusing on getting 1% better each day. If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, I highly, highly, highly recommend. But what that looked like for me was I didn't have to overhaul my entire life overnight. I just had to make intentional, small steps over time to change the trajectory of my health. So, for example, I found ways to incorporate low impact exercises. I made sure that I focused on my nutrition, making sure that it was optimized for my body and for preventing the type 2 diabetes. I also leaned into prayer and really asked God for strength and wisdom in what felt like a very, very, very challenging season. Fast forward to my second pregnancy, where it was complication free, there was no gestational diagnosis, and that did not happen by chance. It was because I took very intentional action between my two pregnancies, even though they were less than 2 years apart, to make sure that I dialed in my health in a holistic way. But the most beautiful part of this journey is the spiritual growth. I truly, truly believe that my diagnosis, our diagnosis, is truly a gift from God inviting us into our golden era, which is a season of becoming the strongest, best version of ourselves who is totally in tune with God's plan for our life. Literally, the gestational diabetes diagnosis is a little nudge from God, from your body, saying there are things that we need to focus on to prevent having additional issues come later in life. What a beautiful gift it is to be forewarned of things that you don't want to come. I saw how much God could use this diagnosis for good. And now I get to help women just like you rewrite their stories as well. If you're watching this and you're feeling overwhelmed by your diagnosis, I want you to know that there is hope. You don't have to let this define you, and with small, consistent actions, you can also change the trajectory of your health with faith driven, holistic steps. You can reclaim your health and build a brighter future for not only you, but also your family. This channel is here to support you every step of the way. Every week, I will be uploading a new episode. I will be talking about research, talking about strategies, talking about all things gestational diabetes and how to prevent it from progressing without jeopardizing your breast milk supply. So if you found this episode helpful, thank you so much for being here. And please share it with another mama who has the same diagnosis, who needs some help, who needs some encouragement today in her life. I truly pray that you found it helpful and valuable. If you found it valuable, please hit the subscribe button. And I would love to know in the comments what was most helpful for you, or maybe just what you learned from this episode and also some other things that you'd want to see on the channel. Again, thank you so much for being here and spending your time with me. I do not take that lightly. And lastly, always remember you're only one step away from your golden era. I will see you next time.